Good day, everyone. I'm Vince Joffrey E. Austria, PTRP, college instructor at Our Lady of Fatima University College of Physical Therapy. Today, I will be presenting a research investigation entitled Gait Speed and Mobility Performance Among Fallers and Non-Fallers, Community-Dwelling Elderly Filipinos, a comparative cross-sectional study. So without further delay, let us begin our discussion. So in Southeast Asia, particularly here in the Philippines, we are witnessing a rapid increase in the elderly population. In 2020, 5.4% of the 109 million Filipinos were aged 60 years or older. And according to Moncator et al. 2020, this proportion is projected to rise to 10.3% by 2030 and further to 14.3% by the year 2050. With this, aging increases fall risk and affects gait mechanics. With gait speed decline being a common change, gait problems rise from about 10% in those aged 60 to 69 to over 60% in those 80 and above, according to Perker and Katzenklager 2016. The National Institute on Aging 2020 highlights that maintaining mobility is key to independence and quality of life, underscoring now the need for early screening to allow timely and early interventions. However, as Valera 2013 noted, there is limited documentation on falls and fall-related incidents among older adults in the Philippines. And to our knowledge, this is the first study that directly compares gait speed and mobility performance between fallers and non-fallers among Filipino community-dwelling older adults. Furthermore, this study used the 10-meter walk test to measure gait speed and time up and go test to assess mobility and fall risk, following Losardi et al. 2017, further strong evidence in fall risk evaluation. So this study primarily aims first to establish preliminary reference values for gait speed and mobility performance measures among fallers and non-fallers Filipino community-dwelling older adults. Second, determine whether gait speed and mobility performance significantly differ between these two groups. Thereby, this provides physical therapists with accurate benchmarks for these tools, enabling more targeted and timely interventions. So the researchers employed a quantitative, non-experimental, comparative cross-sectional design. So this design allows for data collection from a large sample at a single point in time, enabling comparisons between groups and establishing baseline reference values. Also, the study was conducted in a municipality within the National Capital Region here in the Philippines, chosen for its large elderly population and proximity to the research team. For our sample size, it was calculated using prevalence data from Wenner Yuson et al. 2021 and Philippine Statistics Authority data 2022 with an alpha level of 5% and statistical power of 95%. The required sample size was deemed or determined to be 152 participants out of approximately 879 eligible elderly in the local. Also, purposive sampling was used to recruit community-dwelling adults aged 60 to 79 who could walk at least 10 meters independently, had a mini-mental state examination score greater than or equal to 25, and could follow instructions in English or Filipino. On the other hand, the exclusion criteria included cognitive and uncorrected visual impairment. Also, this includes uncontrolled neurological, cardiopulmonary, or even musculoskeletal conditions affecting mobility. Moreover, on-site screening using the MMSE and PROMIS 10 to assess cognition and overall health of our participants. For ethical considerations, the study was reviewed and approved by the Our Lady of Fatima University Institutional Ethics Review Committee. Our data collection process followed 5 phases. For the first phase, it is our preparation phase. So during this phase, the researchers developed thesis proposals, letters, consent forms, and questionnaires. Second, we have the pre-assessment phase wherein researchers distributed permission letters, questionnaires. We also measured BMI and conducted MMSE screening. For the pilot testing, it is a phase for testing the assessor's reliability via intra-class correlation coefficient, selecting those with ICC score less than or greater than 0.60. Implementation phase qualified. All qualified participants performed the 10-meter walk test using the iWalk Assess application and TUG test following Shumway-Cook standardized protocol, and also assistive device use was documented. Lastly, post-assessment phase, vital signs were checked. Participants also were debriefed on their results. And 5 to 10-minute rest was provided between tests. And also, safety protocols were strictly observed throughout the data collection. For the data analysis, data were compiled in Microsoft Excel and analyzed using SPSS. And descriptive statistics includes mean, standard deviation, frequency distribution were used for demographic variables and test scores. While Mann-Whitney U-test was applied to compare fallers and non-fallers with significance set at p value less than 0.05. So first, let us look at the participants' profile. Of the 224 individuals invited, only 152 qualified, with 21 older adults or 13.8% classified as fallers and 131 older adults or 86.2% classified as non-fallers. The mean age was 66.75 years. For fallers were older, 68.76. The non-fallers, 67 years. Females comprised 67.1% of the sample, with a higher proportion among fallers with 85.7% and with non-fallers 64.1%. Lastly, fallers also had a higher mean BMI with 26.47 compared to non-fallers 24.43. Next, let us examine the functional performance tests. For time up and go test, the overall mean time was 9.73 plus negative 2.07 seconds. Fallers recorded a mean of 13.32 seconds, noticeably slower than the 9.75 seconds recorded by non-fallers. This difference was found to be statistically significant with p-value of less than 0.05, indicating that slower tug test performance is associated with fall history. For 10-meter walk test, which measures gait speed, the overall mean gait speed was 1.14 meters per second. Fallers had an average speed of 0.92 meters per second, while non-fallers averaged 1.12 meters per second. And this difference was also statistically significant at p-value less than 0.05, suggesting that reduced gait speed is likewise linked to fall risk. For our discussion, our findings align with the prior Asian studies, wherein fall risk increases with age, fall risk is higher in females, and it correlates with higher BMI, though normal BMI individuals remain at risk. Also, interestingly, 81% of fallers in our study had no prior history of falls, Therefore, this domain warrants further investigation. For correlation to international, Filipino community dwelling older adults showed better mobility than Malaysian and Korean counterparts, but slower than Indian elderly population, likely due to environmental, socioeconomic, and health attitude factors. The wear and tear theory supports our findings, noting that age-related physical decline affects balance, strength, and gait. Likewise, the WHO Fall Risk Factors Model 2007 frames our results within four dimensions. First, biological includes age and gender. Behavioral, which includes lifestyle, physical activity. Socioeconomic, income, access to care. And lastly, environmental, which includes home and public space safety. So in conclusion, significant differences exist in gait speed and mobility performance between folders and non-folders among Filipino community dwelling older adults. So folders exhibit slower gait speed and poorer mobility as evidenced by higher tug test times and lower 10-meter walk test scores. The preliminary reference values established in this study can guide physical therapist in early identification of at-risk individuals, facilitating now timely interventions to prevent falling or falls. So the researchers recommends to include prior fall history in the classification of fallers, broadening the range or age range for greater inclusivity, examining relationships between demographics and functional test results, and also exploring targeted physical therapy interventions on gait and mobility outcomes. These steps will not only enhance our understanding, but also contribute to the development of community-based fall prevention programs and also promote healthy aging. So these are our references, and this concludes my presentation. Thank you for your attention.